Hi everyone, welcome to the Wargaming Parrot. I am David and today's video has been coming for a long time and it is a guide to Conure Sounds and Behaviours. If you haven't seen my previous videos separate videos on Conure Sounds and Behaviours, I'll leave links in the description and a couple of cards in a row now. I'd highly recommend you watch those videos as well as this one because some of the behaviours in this video won't be in them, and I've tried not to replicate the behaviours as well, so you will get a full guide to everything if you watch them all. So in this video, I'm going to go through a bunch of Conure sounds and behaviours that I previously haven't recorded, and I've been taking a lot of time to try and get so I can share them with you and what they mean. So hopefully you can help understand what your Conure is trying to tell you. I'm going to talk through each example and then show you a clip so you know exactly what it means. But as with all things, it's very important to understand that context will play a major factor in understanding why your Conure is behaving the way it is. For example, in the video I'll talk about growling, but growling can mean so many different things. So always remember context is key and you should observe, and that's the way you're going to understand what your Conure is trying to tell you. Now I thought I'd start with one of my both most favourite and least favourite behaviours, and that is scooting. Now scooting can mean one of two things depending on the context. If your Conure is on the ground and it's scooting backwards, that generally means it's about to go potty. If your Conure is scooting forwards, it's generally a playful thing. It can be an overexcited thing or an overstimulated thing. It's important to observe how they're scooting, and if you can catch it and they're scooting backwards, you can potentially catch a potentially messy mess before it happens. I'm going to show you a couple of examples now. As mentioned, I'm going to go through the whole video doing the same. Now the next behaviour I want to cover is dancing. Now dancing can mean a lot of different things. It can mean overstimulation, it can mean being overexcited, it can mean displaying, or it can even mean hormonal behaviour. So it's important to understand the context to why your Conure is dancing, because it can be a cute behaviour to observe. However, in certain contexts it can mean that something's going on and the behaviour may start to decline.
Olive, 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 olive. Olive, 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 olive.
Our Conures love to posture. They will posture in a way where they're sort of swaying, almost like a dance. They will posture sometimes by puffing their feathers up, which I'll show you in the Scampi example. Now, posturing can mean lots of different things in different examples, but the Scampi example basically means it's a defensive posture. That means he's scared, he's worried, and he may be ready to get aggressive and bite. So if you see this sort of behaviour from Conure, it's generally advisable to approach with a bit of caution and see what is upsetting them. Conures love to growl. Growling is probably one of the most common sounds you're going to hear from your Conure, and growling can mean so many different things. They growl for so many reasons. They growl when they're content, they growl when they're curious, they growl when they're nervous. The only difference tends to be, from what we've noticed, is the tone of the growl can be variable. It also will depend on the individual Conure, but Conures growl for so many different reasons and it can be very cute and funny to see. So it's, again, as I said right at the start of the video, context will be your key to understanding why your Conure is growling and learning and listening to them over time and then what those growls mean to your individual Conure. Now the next behaviour, I thought I'd try and get Scampi over to show an example. He's very keen for his treats, so let's try not to keep him waiting. Let's give you one while I'm talking actually, because otherwise you're going to get impatient with me. And that is acquired sounds. Now I've mentioned acquired sounds before, but Conures can be very clever when it comes to learning things. You see another perfect example of overstimulated posturing here. Scampi, Scampi, Scampi. Oh, okay, you're going to kiss me instead. Acquired sounds can come in many different forms. For example, they can mimic noises in your house, they can mimic sounds that you make, or even conversation. I'm going to try and get Scampi to say his name. Scampi, Scampi, Scampi. So you hear Scampi there, he's trying to mimic his name. And it's very cute hearing these sounds, and it's very important to not confuse them with natural Conure sounds, because this is something that he's learned from us. And I'll show another example as well, even though you just had one right now. Scampi, Scampi,
Scampi.
My next sound is alarm calling, and alarm calling normally means that your parrot is anxious, scared, or worried about something. However, I thought I'd include it in this video again because it was in the Conure Sounds video, because we've learned that alarm calling for conures doesn't always mean those things. Sometimes conures will alarm call purely because they want attention from you. Scampi is probably the biggest culprit of this. He will just start alarm calling when there's nothing scary going on, and he basically wants us to come over there and train him and pay attention to him. So be aware, again, context will be key. Look at their body language and see why they're alarm calling, because it could mean they're scared, it could also mean they're just being obnoxious and want lots of attention from you. Beak rubbing is a very common conure behaviour, and conures rub their beaks for a variety of reasons. The most common reason is they really hate having wet beaks for some reason. If they have a drinky or a wash, they do not want that beak to be wet. So that's the most common reason you'll see your conure rubbing its beak. However, it can also be a territorial thing occasionally, like this is mine, and very occasionally it can be a precursor to aggression. We noticed that when we first got Olive, she would often rub her beak on the perch right before she got overexcited and started biting. So it's something to be aware of when you see your conure beak rubbing. If their beak's just wet, they're probably just rubbing it for that reason. If there's another reason, be aware of it. Leading on from this is beak tapping. Now sometimes conures will tap their beak because you teach them to, or they'll tap their beak because they're enjoying it. More commonly though, conures will tap their beak as a territorial behaviour or as a precursor to hormonal behaviour, because sometimes beak tapping can lead on to regurgitation. They'll start tapping their beak on a surface and then suddenly start regurgitating. So it's probably something not to be encouraged too often, depending on if they go to that next step. Another very common noise you'll probably hear from your conure is squealing. Conures love to squeal when they're playing or having fun, and sometimes when they get overexcited. It's quite a cute noise to hear, and most of the time it's pretty harmless. However, squealing can sometimes be an indicator of naughty behaviour. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of squealing. One where they're just playing, where Pickles and Scampi are playing, and one where they're getting a bit naughty. Just so you can see the context, again, is so important. I'm sorry if I keep repeating it, but it really is important. Conures, like cockatiels, have ways of asking us for petting. They will indicate to us that they want to be petted and want some attention. And generally this will be, Pickles is snuffling in my ear again, generally because she's strongly opinion about this. Generally it will mean that they'll bow their head to you, like a cockatiel would. More commonly, we've noticed with Olive and sometimes Pickles, they will put their claw on their face and tilt their head slightly to indicate they want to be petted. And generally you'll see quite a relaxed posture, and they won't sort of recoil from a hand. That will generally tell you that they want to be petted and that they're ready to have a bit of grooming from you. The next behaviour is burrowing. Now burrowing is relatively common to most conures. Almost all of them will do it at some time or another in different form, but it can mean two very polar opposite things. Conures will sometimes just burrow for fun and just enjoyment, but sometimes it will be a precursor to nest building and hormonal behaviour. Again, context is key. Just watch what your conure is doing and see how they're behaving. For example, they may want to burrow in the substrate at the base of the cage. They may just burrow underneath your top while you're lying on the floor. As long as it doesn't lead to hormonal behaviour, it's pretty harmless and quite fun for them. However, if it does and you're encouraging it often, it can lead to problems. conures love to chat, and they will chat for a variety of reasons, and sometimes they'll chat to each other, which we call the conure chorus, where they all start chatting all at once. Generally, a conure will start chatting if they're content, if they're relaxed, or if it's quite a high-pitched chatter and very loud, overexcited. Generally, when they're chatting and they're content, it'll be kind of a quiet chatting, snuffling noise, or when they're overexcited, it'll be a lot louder. They also just chat to communicate with each other. Often, our conures will just chat away to each other and enjoy, and it's just something very rewarding to see and fun for them, because it's basically like having one giant conversation that we're kind of not invited to. Next conure behaviour is fighting. Now, conures will fight from time to time. Sometimes it can just be a territorial squabble, which is okay as long as there's no real aggression, massive foot biting or attempts to harm. Sometimes it can just be territorial, and that's fine. Sometimes it can be outright aggression, and that's something you need to be aware of and keep an eye on. They will have squabbles from time to time. It's natural for all parrots, just like we occasionally squabble amongst each other. Hopefully not leading to punch-ups. Now they're messing on my neck, enjoying themselves. But it's important to make sure you step in if it goes too far. Any sort of aggressive biting, lunging, or potentially biting across the beak can lead to problems, so make sure you stop it before it gets to that point. This is behaviour. A lot of people have asked me, what does it mean? And honestly, I'm not quite sure, and that is foot checking. Many parrots will foot check. They will look down at their foot randomly and just stop. I don't know if they're just considering their surroundings or working out what's going on. Yes, but I'm not quite sure what foot checking means, but I thought I'd include it in this video as well so you can see an example of it. Sometimes conures, or other parrots as well, will do something we call forward eyes, and that means their eyes will be focused as far forward as they possibly can. Generally, forward eyes means they're intent on something, they're very curious, they want it really badly. So if your conure is forward eyeing towards a piece of banana, it's a pretty good indicator they really want that. Conures will also sometimes shake their heads, and this can be for a variety of reasons. It's important not to confuse it with them just shaking off excess water or fluff. And head shaking can be down to being a bit uncomfortable, it can be down to a loud noise they find uncomfortable, much like cockatiels, or it can even be down to a bit of confusion and they're not sure what's going on. So if your conure is shaking their head, maybe worthwhile just working out why they're doing it. Conures are very expressive in the way they lean. I mean, unlike a cockatiel's, conures will lean in different directions depending on what they want. If your conure is leaning towards you or towards something, it means they want it really badly. For example, Scampi, when he wants to go in the bathroom, will lean towards it like an arrow. If he doesn't want something, conversely, he will lean away and be like, no, thank you. So you can just tell what your conure wants by the direction they're leaning. And it's almost like I don't know, a metal detector almost. You point them where you want to take them and they will show you what they want and don't want.
Spin. Good babies.
Next behaviour is a nice simple one. It's one you may have seen in my other conure videos, and that is preening and relaxing. Now, conures will, just like Pickles and Scampi on my shoulder right now, will fluff up and they'll start preening together and they'll sort of relax next to each other and sleep. And it's very cute to see and very rewarding because it means they're okay and they're very happy with what's going on. Now, the last behaviour I wanted to cover was regurgitation. I've got a dedicated video on that. I'll try and leave a card for that now. If not, check out my channel, it's in there somewhere, because there's so many cards for this video. But regurgitation can mean hormonal behaviour. If your conure is regurgitating constantly, either for you or for their mate, it means they may be getting hormonal. Conversely though, conures will sometimes regurgitate for each other as a bonding exercise. So if it's occasional and it's not constant, it's not necessarily something to be concerned about. It's just something they like to do to strengthen their bonds. So everyone, that brings me to the end of the video. I have a couple of very content conures on my shoulder enjoying themselves, so I'm going to go and sit down and let them continue to do so. I hope you found this video useful. If there's anything else you'd like clarification on or any information about behaviours, please feel free to drop a comment down below. But in the meantime, take care and have a really, really good day.